So first I want to start with a little bit of a baseline, a bit of vocabulary that's going to be important as I sort of walk you through this. I'm going to describe a sort of picture representation like a mental model of your organizations, and it's going to have an above-the-line region and a below-the-line region. So we'll start with this. If you imagine what we have depicted here, don't worry about it being a cloud, just think of it as like a bubble. What this is here is your product, your service, your API, or whatever, that your business derives value from and gives to customers, okay? And inside there, what you see are your code, you see your technology stack, you see the data, and some various ways of delivering this, right? Like presumably over the internet or some other sort of way. No, but if we stay here, nobody's going to believe me that that's what we call the system, because it's fine, but it's not really complete. So what's really connected, and I think what's really what a lot of people have been talking about here in this community, especially in the last couple of days, is that all of the stuff that we do, and this is really familiar, all of the stuff we do to manipulate what goes on in there. And so we have testing tools, we've got monitoring tools, we've got deployment tools, and all of the stuff that's sort of wired up. These are the things that we use. And you could say that this is the system, because many of us spend our time focused on those things that are not inside the little bubble there, but all of the things that are around it. But if we were to stay just with this, we won't be able to see where real work happens. So what we're going to do here is we're going to draw this line. This is a line that we call the line of representation, and then play with this a little bit further. What we see here is you, all the people who are getting stuff ready to add to the system, to change the system. You're doing the architectural framing, you're doing monitoring, right? You're keeping track of what it's doing, how it's doing it, and what's going on with them. Now you'll notice that each one of these people have some sort of mental representation about what that system is. And if you look at it a little bit more closely, you'll see that none of them are the same. By the way, that's very characteristic of these types of roles. Nobody has the same representation of what is below the line. So to summarize, and again, a little bit of a view here, your product or service is here. This is the stuff you build and maintain with, and here's where work actually happens. So this is our model of the world, and it includes not just the things that are running there, but all of you, the kinds of activities you're performing, the cognitive work that you're doing to keep that world functioning. And if we play with this a little bit more, we end up with this kind of model. So this model has a line of representation going through the middle, and you interact with the world below the line via a set of representations. Your interactions are never with the things themselves. You don't actually change the systems. What you do is that you interact with the representation. And that representation is something about what's going on below. You can think of those green things as the screens that you're looking at during the day. But the only information that you have about the system comes from these representations. They're just a little keyhole, right? And what's significant about that is that all the activities that you do, all of the observing, inferring, anticipating, planning, correcting, all of that sort of stuff, has to be done via those representations. So there's a world above the line and a world below the line. And although you and we mostly talk about the world below the line as if it's very real, as if it's very concrete, as though it's something that's the thing, here is the surprise. Here is the big deal. You never get to see it. It doesn't exist. In a real sense, there is no below the line that you can actually touch. You never, ever see code run. You never, ever see the system actually work. You never touch those things. What you do is that you manipulate it in a kind of, well, not imaginary. It's not imaginary. It's very real. But you manipulate a world that you cannot see via a set of representations. And that's why you need to build those mental models, those conceptions, those understandings about what's going on. Those are the things that are driving that manipulation. It's not the world below the line that's doing it. It's your conceptual ability to understand the things that have happened in the past, the things that you're doing now, and why you're doing those things, what matters, and why what matters matters. So once you adopt this perspective, once you step away from the idea that below the line is the thing you're dealing with and understand that you're really working above the line, all sorts of things change.